What was the pivotal moment that made you want to leave the corporate world?
I think it was cumulative. That I never really enjoyed the corporate world.
I listened to something the other day and they said if you want to be great at anything, you have to accept that you're going to be shit at first.
For me, I was able to sit COVID out. I was financially secure. I didn't have to worry about working or getting an income, and I could take the time to really think about, okay, what are the things that I value? What do I want to spend my time doing going forwards? I knew the corporate world, I wanted to burn that bridge. There was no way I want to go back to that. Your ability to have a positive mindset, to be able to learn new skills is dramatically reduced if you feel like shit every day when you wake up. Like,
absolutely.
You've only got to...
Welcome to the Carnivore Entrepreneur Show, where health unlocks true wealth. It's time to reclaim your strength, ignite your energy, and live life with purpose. Master your body, sharpen your mind, and dominate your path. Live life how it's supposed to be lived, on your terms. Let's go. Hi, and welcome to the Carnivore Entrepreneur Show. I'm your host, Grant Hutchby, the Carnivore Entrepreneur, and I'm here with Dave Bell. Dave, introduce yourself to everyone because I don't want to take away your glory.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Dave Bell. I'm the founder of Real Man. I'm a former corporate career guy turned men's peak health and performance coach.
Excellent.
That's short synopsis.
That was very short and sweet. Love it. I'm sure we'll get into a lot more detail throughout the next 45 minutes or so. So I always start off these with one question. And the Carnivore Entrepreneur Show is all about meat, muscles, mindset, and money. Obviously, it's a little bit deeper than that, but it flows nicely with all the M's. What qualifies you to be a carnivore entrepreneur?
Good question. I think so. With Real Man, the focus is on being a complete human, being a man that's strong in body, strong in mind, and strong in character. And excellent. For that, then obviously you need to be building that body with good fuel. And I do like a steak. And you also need to be building that mind. You need to fuel the mind, and you need to be building that character. So that's my qualification. Is I'm committed to building the full human.
Excellent. Really good answer. And actually, you know, the pillars that you work by in Real Man has a lot of similarities to what I'm trying to do with the Carnivore Entrepreneur. Little bit different in terms of what we're doing, but definitely similar principles, which, you know, is one of the reasons why I invited you onto this show. So let's reverse time a little bit. So you and I go back a little bit to Ashurian days, which what feels like an age ago now.
Well, it was a bit of an age ago,
yeah. Done a lot since then. So, what was the pivotal moment that made you want to leave the corporate world? Not necessarily start this particular business, but what made you want to go down this road?
I think it was cumulative. I never really enjoyed the corporate world. There were moments for sure, and when I was focused on climbing the ladder and moving forwards, then there were enjoyable times. But I got sick to death of the politics that surrounds the corporate world. You have to be seen to be doing this. You have to be seen to be turning up. It's more about what things look like than actual output and quality. And as an autistic man, that kind of I can only mask that for so long. And the pivotal moment, I think, was I went through quite a dark period for a couple of years. I was doing well financially. Things looked great, good relationship, blah, blah, blah. But I was really freaking miserable, unfulfilled. I was working for a lunatic of a boss. It was hard, you know, like the clients we were dealing with were not our biggest fans. And so I was I was battling a lot of things on all fronts, and I was kind of caught in this treadmill of a lot of people, right? You're earning quite a lot of money, but I was spending near as much as I was earning at that point. And I remember paying my car finance off and then thinking, oh, I can buy a new car. And and this was early 2018. And I was stuck in this treadmill, and I thought something needs to change. I wasn't happy. And I'd had for years Think and Grow Rich sat on the shelf, and I'd never read it. I'd heard about it I think I'd read Rich Dad Poor Dad years before, and I'm sure in the back of that book he mentions Think and Grow Rich. And I picked it up, and I thought, and I kind of started it a few times and never read it. And I got the audio book, and I started listening to it in the car on the way to work. And around that time, when I was thinking I'm going to buy a new car, I was stood in the Volvo dealership one day, having multiple days of negotiating on this car, back and forth with this guy. And I was stood there while he went off to go and ask some more questions again. And I thought, what the hell am I doing? What am I doing? And I just turned around and walked out. And it was partly because of that book. It started to change my mind and started to change the way I was thinking, and realized that although up until that point I'd been focusing on, building muscle, going to the gym, getting strong, I hadn't done any work up here. So I had a limitation of how I could perform. I was doing pretty well, but I needed to check. If I wanted to move further, I needed to change the way I was thinking. And that was the pivotal moment, I think, was that I went through that book 3 times in a row, and it was like a spiritual experience for me. I can't even explain the transformation. It led me on a massive path of personal development from that point. And I discovered people like Jim Rohn and various other thought leaders, I guess, in the personal development space. And I spent a lot of time from that point forwards then investing heavily in myself, like colossal amounts of money into myself.
It is amazing, like when you do look back and see how much money you've spent on you. Mm-hmm. But that's the best investment you can ever make is on yourself, isn't it?
Well, you can only make your decisions based off of the information you have available to you. So if you want to make better decisions, you need to have more data inputs, more sources of perspective for which you can draw upon to make those decisions, to see what's possible, because otherwise you get stuck in your own little world. And, like a lot of people, I was stuck in that mindset of going through waking up Monday feeling like crap, dreading the whole week, getting to Friday, can't wait till the end of the day, drink Saturday, spend all day Sunday, dreading Monday, and repeat that on a cycle.
Yeah.
And it was horrendous. And I knew that I had to get out of that, but I knew that I obviously couldn't do it immediately. So I started to make financial plans from that point forwards. I didn't go and buy the new car. I kept the car I had that was perfectly fine. And I cut back on my spending. I started to siphon money off and put it into pots. And very quickly it started to grow because I was earning good money. And as soon as you stop spending loads of money, it kind of starts to pile up quite quickly. So I made preparations for the end to appear. I knew that the business I was working at, there was likely to be an opportunity for redundancy at some point in the not too distant future. So I was preparing for that. And then beginning of 2020, that opportunity appeared, and I was prepared financially, but I wouldn't say I was prepared in other ways, right? I didn't have a plan because I didn't know it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of 2020. And you know what happened 3 months later? COVID happened. The thing, everything went crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. Like when I quit Assurian, I found out that about 4 months after I left, everyone in our account got redundancy. And then COVID hit. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. I could have stayed in and just had a load more money.
I know. It was fortuitous timing in many ways, because I mean, realistically, for me, I was able to sit COVID out. I was financially secure. I didn't have to worry about working or getting an income, and I could take the time to really think about, okay, what are the things that I value? What do I want to spend my time doing going forwards? I knew the corporate world, I wanted to burn that bridge. There was no way I want to go back to that. I just see so many, and I see so many people now that are kind of unfulfilled and miserable because of that machine.
Mm.
And I thought, there's no way I want to go back to that, but what the hell do I do? And so I started to retrain myself, and I went through Tony Robbins' coaching school. So I got certified by Tony and Chloe. And I started working with people to help them and impart the kind of the knowledge and the skills that I'd developed over time and my perspectives, and along with the skills I learned. And as I was going through that, I kind of realized that there's a lot of focus on the mindset, rightly so, but it's really hard to have a good mindset if the foundation isn't there, if your energy doesn't exist because your health isn't there. And I found that I was working with a lot of people who, what they really needed to do, first of all, was actually get health somewhat in a better place. They needed to kind of get their, for a lot of people, it means losing some weight, building the fitness, building some strength, and getting the energy back, getting vitality back, because your ability to have a positive mindset, to be able to learn new skills, is dramatically reduced if you feel like shit every day when you wake up. Like, Absolutely. You've only got so much energy, right? And everything else, if you've got a niggle and a pain, that's like imagine, I said this to a guy the other day, imagine like your health is like a bucket that holds your energy. And if you've got little holes appearing in there, you can never fill it back up. And the more holes you get, the less you're able to fill it up, and the faster it pours out. You know, if you've got a bit of an ache and a pain, you think, oh, it's not that much, but it's drawing energy out of you every single day.
Yeah.
Right. So your ability to perform goes down. That means, do you show up in your business at your best? Probably not. The knock-on effect is, does the business perform? Do you snap at your colleagues or employees or whatever? Do clients, do you interact well with clients? When you go home, do you snap at your partner? Do you snap at the kids? Do you, like, all of these things, that the knock-on effect, because your health isn't where it needs to be. I think people need to focus so much. It's not valued enough, I don't think, health within entrepreneur circles, within business in general, that the health is that foundation, right? It's the rocket fuel, the potential for everything else. Like, you can't do the other stuff without that in place.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, one thing that I wrote about in my book was this whole hustle culture that is being promoted, about grind, work until you make it. But actually what happens is you become less and less productive over time because your health is declining. And actually, instead of doing 100-hour weeks, if you were to do 30-hour weeks, but those 30 hours were the absolute highest performance that you can possibly perform at, you'll probably end up being more productive than the 100 hours.
Oh, you will. 100%. 100%. Because there's no way. You might be able to go flat out for a couple of weeks, but anyone who's ever done that, you know there's a crash, right? You kind of get an energy burst. You go, wake up early, work, struggle to finish, struggle to stop when the evening comes round. But that happens to me, and I know if I do that, I've got probably 10 days in me. And then
that's it. That's, you use it when there's a critical moment, you know,
exactly.
And you know that it's in your tank to do it.
Yeah.
It's not you're doing it every week in, week out, because that's the norm. You do it when you have to, when there's a business crisis or something that is absolutely pressing. You know that you've got it to be able to do it.
Yeah, 100%. You've only got a finite amount of energy that's got to go across all of the different areas of your life. It's got to go across your business or career or whatever during the day. It's got to be there for your family before, either end of that day. You've got friends, relationships, and other things that you want to do. And I think you've got to really focus on building your health as much as possible. And I think one of the issues in the health and fitness space is it's all about weight loss. It's kind of weight loss has been associated with health, and not the same thing, right? You can eat Mars bars and pizza and still lose weight. You're not going to perform very well. That's the problem. And I think we need to really start to focus in, because the industry is not doing a great job, right? It's not doing a great job.
Yeah.
There's 2/3 of people are now overweight or obese in the UK. It's worse in the States. If the industry was doing a good job, that wouldn't be the case. So something needs to change. And I think it needs to be the focus on health, and health being a lifelong thing. Like the problem with the weight loss angle is it's all full of headlines of lose 20, 30 pounds in the next 12 weeks. You can do that. It's hard work, but you can do it. You get to the end, and then what? You just stop. You go back to what you were doing, and the yo-yo continues, right?
Yeah.
I want to go. We need to go against that kind of 12-week thing. If you got to a place where you need to do something about your health, it doesn't have to be immediate, right?
Correct.
You've kind of, do you know what I mean? It's like slow and steady wins the race. Be sustainable. This isn't about something you do for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
It's something you've got to do for the rest of your life. And the artificial nature of our modern world, where everything's really, really bloody easy, it's really easy to sit down, it's really easy to eat too much, means that we now have to artificially create movement.
Yeah, absolutely.
And challenge. Right?
We don't hunt for our food anymore, do we?
We don't work on a farm. Like
we don't bathe in lakes.
No. So we now have to. We've done so much work to make our lives easy that we're now weak. So we've now got to embrace strength. Like strength is the foundation of everything else in health and fitness. In fitness, strength and fitness, strength and conditioning. Strength is the mother skill of all other skills, right? You build strength and you layer on top of that power and speed and endurance, but you need to be physically strong enough in the first place. And the same is true from a mental side of things, right? You need mental strength. If you're like I did when I was struggling and I didn't have the mental strength, I was mentally weak. I didn't know how to use this thing. And I had to learn the skills, a bit like you go walk into a gym. You're not going to go and pick 100 kilos off the ground on day one.
No.
But over a few months, right, with a plan and a goal to do that, you can little by little increase the weight. You get stronger bit by bit. And most men, within 6 months could probably go from 0 to picking 100 kilos off the floor.
Yeah.
Right. The same's true for mental strength, right? There's a weird thing about no one would be, if you've never been to the gym, you wouldn't be ashamed that you couldn't pick 100 kilos off the floor. You wouldn't give a monkeys, right? But if you can't handle the stress of life, men seem to feel, particularly men, that there's some kind of shame in saying, I don't know how to do this. But strength starts with acknowledging that thing, right?
Yeah.
That's where strength comes from. We acknowledge, don't know how to do it, but the answer's out there. Right?
Yeah.
That's a strong mindset.
I listened to something the other day and they said, if you want to be great at anything, you have to accept that you're going to be shit at first.
100%. Was it Alex Hormozy says you've got to suck 100 times in a row. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It is hard, right? But I think we've got to really change that narrative and the stigma, particularly when it comes to men, that actually it's not toxic to be strong. It's not toxic to be masculine. And it's not shameful to not have the strength now.
Absolutely.
What is shameful is to try and avoid building that strength, right? And see it as a negative thing, because it's not a negative thing. Like you're either strong or you're weak. Now, which one would you rather be? Like strength for me is resilience, first and foremost. Like if you've got a strong body, and I don't mean just physically strong. You don't have to be a power lifter or a bodybuilder or anything else. It's about physical health and resilience, right? That's when I say a strong body, I mean you've got energy. You're not feeling like you're beaten up. You can do all the
correctly.
things. You can move well. You can do the things you want to do. Like, you know, as you get older, if you don't do that, you end up, I can't do that because there's too many steps. I can't go there. Like, you end up limiting yourself. So strength is resilience, but it's also choice. Weakness I see as being a limitation. You are restricting yourself from being able to do things on a physical standpoint and mentally, right? So I apply the same thinking for the strong mind. Is strength is resilience first and foremost, because life is tough, right? And it's not going to get any easier. As Jim Rohn said, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better.
Yeah, that's
right?
it. Yeah.
And that stuck with me forever, because if you're waiting for the world to get easier and you want an extraordinary life, the two things don't match, right? So level one is you need to be able to be resilient for the stuff that's going to come at you involuntarily, because it's going to come. Shit's going to happen. People are going to die. Businesses are going to fail. Stuff's going to go wrong, right? And you've got to be able to withstand that and take it and respond to it with emotional intelligence. But then there's another level which says if you want more, then you're going to have to put yourself into deliberate discomfort, deliberate challenge. You're going to have to start a business that 90% will fail. You're going to have to do stuff that's going to be hard. But you can't do that if you're not doing the work, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. We've touched on quite a few pillars there with body and mind. But we'll go through the pillars a little bit. So what was some of the first sort of physical changes that you made initially when you realized you had an issue to reclaim your sort of strength and energy? What were the first sort of steps that you took?
So it was a bit of a journey, to be fair, right? So in my 20s, I was not prioritizing health and well-being, right? I was smoking, drinking, doing coke, pills, ketamine. The list was long and distinguished, and I was going to Glastonbury. I was in a band. Like, I was not prioritizing my health.
You felt invincible.
I was just ignorant of what I was. I was just ignorant until, like a lot of people, I was coming up to my 30th birthday, and people tend to make changes when there's significant birthday milestones like 30, 40, 50, 60, or career change, or relationship ends, or the doctor says you're in trouble, right? So for me, I'd just come back from Glastonbury. It was 2009, and there was a photograph of me. In fact, it's still on Facebook, I'm pretty sure, of me, no shirt on, with a can of cider, Strongbow in one hand, and a fag in the other. And I was just, I wasn't fat. I was skinny fat. I was just unhealthy.
Yeah.
And I looked at myself and I thought, where will I be in 10 years if I don't do something about this now? So I went and joined the gym. And I still, with the express intention of, I'm not changing anything else, but I'm going to go and lift some weights, right? And that's what I did to begin with. For the first few months, I was still smoking, still drinking, still partying, but I was going to the gym. It started off as 2 or 3 times a week, then it was 3 or 4, and then 4 or 5. And then a few months after I'd been going, I remember people started saying to me, you start going to the gym? And I was like, ooh, I quite like this. Yeah, I quite like this, especially when it was females. And so that encouraged me, because there was actually a tangible, like, you don't really see it yourself as much. So other people, when someone else sees it and sees the difference, then I started to kind of research and get into, really understand training and nutrition. And gradually over time, I cut down on my drinking, completely stopped smoking, haven't done any form of narcotics for almost since then.
Nice.
Like, it's a long, long time. I started changing the way I ate, and happened gradually, right? And I've gone through ups and downs through those times, because there was a point where all I wanted to, when I was in my early 30s, all I wanted to be was as big and as strong as possible. So I was eating and training like a power lifter at one point, and I was 100 kilos, which doesn't look good with a head this small. It's a bizarre. I look like Martin Ford. If you ever seen like tiny head, it's not a good look. So I had to grow a beard to make my face look bigger, and it was still one dimensional, right? I was just training to be big and strong, and I was big and strong. But I remember going to a yoga class with my girlfriend, the first one I ever went to.
Destroyed.
It was in a local village hall, right? And I was the only man in there. Everyone else was pretty much a middle-aged woman, and I was humbled. Like, I couldn't move. I was so stiff, and I was a puddle of sweat in this yoga class. It was not a challenging yoga class. And I realized at that point, and I was coming up towards the other mental change, like late 30s. And I realized that I probably needed to make another change. I needed to change the way I was training, and I needed to focus more on longevity and performance and fitness, and not just be big and strong. And so I just changed. I started cycling, I started doing mobility work, changed the way I train, and everything that I do now is very much focused around functional strength and hybrid training, being multi-dimensional, to be able to run and cycle and do all of the other things, move well. That's important to me, and it becomes more important as I get older. I'm 45 now, so the older I get, the more I realize I need to be able to move well, and the more I see the people 10 years and 20 years and 30 years ahead of me who haven't, or who don't do that, and I see the quality of their life deteriorating quite quickly, that is an incentive to me to do something about it. And the inspirational people to me are the guys you see are in their 60s and 70s and even 80s, 90s sometimes, who are still running and lifting weights and doing calisthenics or whatever. And I think, like, age is just such a bad excuse. We've kind of got used to, we've been conditioned into, like, oh, now you're in your 40s, you should just look and feel like shit. And it's not the case. And there's so much, and the information available is just not great. You see, gyms are full up and down the country, right? And gyms are full of men in their 40s who could be saying, "Oh, I'm too busy," but they're not. They're finding the time to go and train, but they're not getting the results. Like, they don't ever go to the gym for 12 months, and it doesn't look like they've been to the gym for 12 months. They're putting in the work, but there's a missing piece, right? The training they're doing is probably some generic crap off online that was written by someone on steroids for someone on steroids, and then they're trying to train like some 20-year-old kid on steroids, and it's just not going to work. And nutrition's are like an afterthought, and forget sleep and stress management. We don't worry about that stuff because we'll sleep when we're dead. And you wonder why we don't get anywhere. And in the end, you just probably end up more knackered than anything else.
Yeah, sleep.
So that was my gradual change. Like, it wasn't a big thing. And I would say to anyone else who's like listening to this and thinking about, oh, this resonates, I really need to kind of do something about my health, don't try and do too much at once. That's
absolutely
the biggest problem I see, is people come and they want to have a wholesale change in their life, and
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Like, pick a couple of things, like walk every day, simple stuff. Like, it's the gym. Here's the mindset that I try and give to people: the gym is for building up, not for breaking down
and losing stuff.
Yes, it's not for going. You don't go to the gym to lose weight. You go to the gym to get stronger and fitter and improve your performance. There's 168 hours in a week. If you spend 3 to 5 of those hours a week in the gym, you can work flat out in those 5 hours. You're not going to outrun the other 163.
No.
So focus your energy on the 163 hours you're not in the gym, with good food, general movement, sleeping, managing your stress, and then go to the gym to put the icing on the cake.
Yeah. I spend an hour and a half to 2 hours in the gym each week. That's it. Because I go to the gym with an intention of nailing a couple muscle groups and then get out because I've stimulated the muscle for the building of those muscles.
Yep.
And then I focus on what I'm putting into my body and how often I'm moving it.
Exactly. The reality is that as you get older in particular, less becomes more because your ability to recover is reduced. And also depend on, like for me, I cycle quite a bit and I run. So there's only so much you can do. There's only so much capacity you've got to do all of those things. The mistake a lot of people make is they get a workout program off the internet, which is a full strength training program, and then get a running program from somewhere else and stack that on top. And now you're doing 2 full programs rather than blending the two. And you've got to make sure that your volume and the amount of work you're doing is suitable for you. And you've got to build it up slowly. You can't just go from 0 to flat out. You will bury yourself eventually. And this, unfortunately, it's tends to be a lot of thing with men, right? You go from 0 to 100 and nothing in between. And you kind of like try to do too much too soon. You end up injured and hurt and sick. And like less is more. You will the tortoise and the hare. You will definitely get further, faster in the long run by not going crazy.
So I think we've done a lot of stuff on the body so far. If you were to someone that wants to reclaim their health, Mr. Entrepreneur that may have lost their way a little bit, has got a bit of a belly on them, not happy with the way that they look or feel, what 3 to 5 things, simple things, would you tell them to do straight away that wouldn't overwhelm them and that they could get started quite easily with?
First and foremost, I'd probably say, and it's going to sound biased, but I would say get a coach because it's the fastest way to get from A to B in anything that you don't know, right?
That's a good point.
If you want to, it doesn't matter whether it's health or finances or something, find someone who's been there, done that, and has a track record and go and get them to help you because it's faster than anything. But if you want to try and go it alone, first and foremost, get the nutrition simplified and sorted out because reduce processed food. That's number one. For most people,
whole foods.
80% of the time at least, whole food. Focus on getting enough protein. You don't need to count calories or weigh your food and all that kind of stuff. You can, but there's a margin of error.
A lot of people get overwhelmed with that, and I say you don't need to do that. You just need to eat certain things.
Correct. And the thing is, who wants to weigh and measure all of their food from now until the end of time? No one, right? And are you going to do that when you go out? No. So while in my program, there is a period of time where we use calorie tracking more as a awareness piece. The very beginning is very much focused on using your hand as portion. So your palm of your hand, the thickness and the depth, consider that to be 1 portion of protein. Now, for me, I try and have 2 of these with most meals. Mm-hmm. Right? So now I know I'm getting my protein. For example, 2 eggs is about 1 palm of protein. So for me, my breakfast every day is 4 whole eggs and half an avocado because the avocado gives me fiber and some other good fats, right? So focus on simplifying your nutrition, focus on whole foods. Second thing is get your sleep sorted because
that's like a cheat code, getting sleep sorted.
if you could put sleep into a syringe and inject it, it would be the most used drug for elite sports people. Like it has such an impact to your ability to perform mentally and physically. It can't be understated. And the more you build up a sleep debt, like, I only need 5 hours. Bollocks! You don't need 5 hours. Everyone needs 7 to 9. Like you just don't realize how freaking tired you are and the damage you're doing in the long term by not getting enough sleep. So I would focus on your sleep, get a regular bedtime, get a regular wake time, even on weekends as much as possible, and then focus on how do you get good quality sleep. The usual stuff, make the room dark. I use earplugs, silicone earplugs, because
Cool.
Shuts the noise out, and make sure the room is as cool as possible. Obviously, at different times of the year, it's easier than others, but that's it. Yeah, and then the third thing I would focus on is build movement into your day. Have non-negotiables around movement.
I knew you were going to say movement.
Everyone's because there are always ways to do it, right? There's always ways to fit more movement in. I have a sit-stand desk here. I'm sitting now for this, but I can stand underneath this sit-stand desk. I have a walking pad.
Yes.
So if I need to get
great
steps,
hack.
For 300 quid, you can walk and do work. Right, it works better for some work than others. If you've got to type quite a lot, it's quite hard.
Yeah.
There are certain tasks where it works a lot better, but get outside as well.
When you're on calls, it's great. I bet when you're on calls, it's fantastic.
Yeah, depending on the call, of course.
Obviously,
it makes it noise can be a bit annoying.
Think about that.
But I honestly, I would try and keep it to those three things to begin with. Focus on whole foods for your nutrition. Cut out as much of the processed junk as you can get. If you go into the supermarket and it doesn't live like in that first bit, and it comes in a colourful box, it's not food. It's a chemical experiment.
Which is 70% of the fucking supermarket.
Correct. Yeah, correct. Most stuff in a supermarket isn't food. They're drugs, right? Their sole purpose of those foods that are in brightly coloured packets are just to taste good, so you eat more of them. Food isn't about being like satiating hunger. Like that's not its job. Its job, you want to fuel your body for health, performance, and recovery, right? You are only a pile of the stuff you've eaten. If you were to, here's an analogy I like to say, that if you were building a house and you wanted to live in it for a long time, would you find bits of rubble lying around and stick it all together and hope that it stays standing for as long as you need it? Or would you get the best materials that you could afford at the time? So this is the important part. You don't have, like, it's got to fit to your budget.
Yeah, absolutely.
You would pick the best materials, right? Well,
yeah.
Why would we then scrimp on putting all sorts of crap into this house that we live in? Right, but we wouldn't do it for a physical, like a building.
Yeah.
So
we put better things into our cars than we put into our bodies.
100%. A lot of people feed their pets better than they feed themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, right. And this is the thing, like, you've picked out three things which would absolutely fundamentally change anyone's life. But when anyone wants to change their health and their fitness, everyone's first thought is go to the gym. When actually, that's probably the fourth or fifth thing that you should start doing. 100%.
You should definitely go strength training, right? Strength training is massively beneficial for immediate health, for longevity. Like the key markers for longevity and health span are physical strength, muscle mass, and VO2 max.
Yes.
Right? Sitting will kill you faster than smoking. That's right. Yeah. Sitting is worse for
a smoking marathon runner would last longer than someone sitting in a chair.
Someone who didn't smoke and just sat down all day. Yeah. Ridiculous, absolutely crazy. So we've got to get off our asses and move. Like, that's the priority. Strength training, massively important, but move first, right? Just get more movement, more movement.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, cool, fantastic. Nice way to finish off the body. So the mind, we have touched a little bit on mindset, but do you have any sort of daily or weekly mindset practices that keeps your brain functioning really strong?
I have continuous. I guess I don't really have set routines other than I meditate fairly regularly, but I'm not militant on
Yeah, you do it when
meditation.
you feel like it, when you need it, that
Yeah,
type of thing.
sometimes it's kind of I would sometimes I feel like the urge that I need to do some work, so I get up and do that as a priority. Sometimes then I might do a meditation at lunchtime
Yes.
or before I go to bed or something else, right? And I do transcendental meditation. I've done a few other ones, but I would highly recommend transcendental meditation. It's super, super easy. You have to go through TM themselves to learn transcendental
Okay.
meditation, but I would highly recommend it. It is super, super good for your brain, for your health, the recovery that meditation gives you. And Ray Dalio is a TM practitioner, and he cites his all of his success down to his ability to meditate.
Wow.
Like categorically, he said above all else things, transcendental meditation was the thing that's made the biggest difference in his life, and that's why he thinks he got to where he got to. So I would definitely get some kind of meditation practice. For me, then it's about framing. So as we touched on earlier, right, life can be tough, stuff's going to come your way. How you respond is purely down to the meaning you assign to experiences.
Yes.
And there was a great episode of Diary of the CEO a few weeks back, and there was a neuroscientist on there, and she was talking about, and if anyone's ever done anything with NLP, you'll understand what she was saying was that our emotions are not the result of the experience. They are the result of the stimulus. So it could be, sight, sound, touch, taste, whatever, coupled with our memory, aka our meaning of what those things are. And
Yes.
we then experience the meaning that we've associated to it. So the example I give is if you had a barbecue planned for Saturday lunchtime, loads of people coming around, got all the food, got everything ready, and it absolutely pissed it down.
Had that
Right?
happen.
Yeah, exactly. You live in this country, you're going to. But what does the rain mean to you then? Like, how do you feel in that moment? And then take yourself into a different perspective and say, you're a farmer. And actually, I saw Jeremy Clarkson do a video on this, I think yesterday or the day before, stood in a field because it hasn't rained for weeks on weeks and weeks. And stuff doesn't grow in fields when it doesn't
Correct.
rain, right? So for farmers, when it doesn't rain, it means a lot of things. It means lost earnings, it means stress, it means all of these things that we then associate. It's the same fucking rain.
Yeah. The
Right?
same thing's happening. Two
But
different
the
meanings.
meaning is different, correct? And so once you really understand that, and this is what I really try and work with people to understand, because this is the gateway to freedom. This is the gateway to mental health, in my opinion, is that if you can own your responses, or you own your meanings and your responses to stimulus, then you become mentally strong and mentally free. And that, for me, is I'm continuously practicing that, because it takes continuous practice, right? Every
Oh,
day,
again,
something's going to
like a
happen.
muscle, isn't it?
Yeah, something's going to happen that tests you to how you're going to respond to it. And Viktor Frankl said in his book Man's Search for Meaning that between stimulus and response lies a space, and in that space is our opportunity to grow. And what we have to practice doing is making that space bigger. And for me, again, as I said, I'm autistic. Growing up, I went from 0 to pissed off like that.
Wow. Okay.
I struggled with road rage, snapping at people, like all sorts of stuff. And I'm considerably different now because I have that space. I'm not perfect, right? I fuck it up from time to time. It's impossible, but I know there's that space. I also know that I get to choose how I feel about stuff, about what people say, about situations and stuff that happen. And they're the main things for me. Is meditation is good to rest the brain. In many ways, it's better than sleep. And secondly, practice understanding the meanings you're applying to a certain situation. If you feel a certain way right now, so Tony Robbins puts it this way.
Yeah, I was
Pain.
thinking Tony in my head because he talks about that all the time, doesn't he?
This is because Tony's like the NLP master, and he has his life circumstance. When your life circumstances don't match the blueprint, is when you experience pain and discomfort, right? So, like, what he means by is if where you are in life right this minute, you're not happy with, there's either a problem with that or your blueprint, which is what you think life should be like. And to change how you feel, you either have to change your life circumstances, which is a slower measure for a lot of people, because if you're in debt, right, you're not going to turn that around overnight, or you change your blueprint, which means your expectations. And there's normally a mix of the two. And what Tony says is that when you feel out of control for it, you can't make a change, that's when you suffer. But you can always make a change, and that's the important part. Is you only believe I'm stuck, and that suffering, and unfortunately, when it comes to men, that's why men kill themselves. Yeah. Because they end up in this place where they feel like they're out of control. They don't have a choice. They're stuck. That's it. It's game, like their life circumstances do not match the blueprint, and they feel there's nothing they can do about it. The only thing they can do is switch the lights out. And suicide is the leading cause of death in men under 50. And it could be prevented by understanding some of these simple tools.
Yeah. I think you grow and develop that over time when you realize everything that you experience is within your control. That's when you actually go to exercise that muscle and make it stronger. I mean, it's only been recently that I've actually realized that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. So
yeah,
I always felt like I need more, I want more, I haven't got what I want to get yet, right? When actually I've come to realize I've got everything I want, I've got everything I need, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I might achieve some more things in the future, and I'm planning to achieve some more things in the future. However, where I am right now, I'm absolutely perfectly fine. And having that realization gives you this sense of calm, and having sense of calm gives you control. And then therefore you're in that free space that you're talking about. You can become free of mind and go through life knowing that it's on your terms. And
100%.
Yeah. And I think that's a massive point. And I think a lot of people forget about the fact that they are in control. And that's when these suicides happen.
Definitely. And I think you just touched on something. There's the magic word gratitude, right? It doesn't matter what situation you're in. Gratitude, to be able to actually express emotional, like deep rooted emotional gratitude. It could be for something really, really simple. It's the antidote to everything else, because you can't feel two things at the same time.
No.
Right? You can't feel anger and happiness at the same time. You can have one or the other. So if you're feeling like crap, if something's got on top of you, like really focus on something you're deeply grateful for. And I don't mean just, I'm grateful for da-da-da. Like, think about it on such a level that it can almost bring you to tears, right? That level of gratitude for something. It doesn't matter what it is. While you're doing that, you can't be feeling the other thing. You can't be feeling anxiety. You can't be feeling depression.
No.
Like that's your break from it. And it's so important that if you can practice gratitude on a daily basis and make it habitual, like even if your life circumstances are bad in your perspective, you're struggling, there's financial issues or the business is problems or blah, blah, blah. There is always something to be grateful for. I go back to Viktor Frankl. When he was during the Second World War, he was in Auschwitz. And as a psychologist, he had a unique perspective, right? Because he was observing and experiencing all at the same time, but also being a psychologist. And he noticed that even in those horrendous days where people are dying and they're suffering, they were freezing to death and there's no food, that there were people who were having moments of joy, even if it was like sharing the end of a cigarette butt, or they had a tiny little piece of chicken in their soup. And he realized that joy is not dependent on the situation or the circumstance. It's a choice. And we get to make that choice. And I think that's incredibly powerful when you understand that. And it takes practice, honestly. Like someone listening to this is going to think, oh, what a load of bollocks. But it's actually, if you practice it, it becomes true. Like you take the power back. Do you want to be empowered or disempowered? Like for me, when I think, okay, I own the meaning, I own the response, I've got the power. But if it's happening to me, I'm powerless, right? I'm just a victim. And that's not a way to live. You'd be freaking miserable for a long time if everything happens to you. Right?
Yeah.
You want choice.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that's it. I think being able to control your mind and be clear and understand that you're in control. That's it to mastering your mind and having a healthy mind at the end of the day. But again, it's supported by a healthy body,
Correct. Because imagine, like, if you're knackered, you wake up in the morning, you're tired, the day gets, you're going through meetings, you're going through this stuff, and you're struggling just to get through the day, and then you get home, like there's nothing left. And how are you likely to have a positive outlook? How are you likely to be able to use that, the extra, especially when you first start doing this stuff? It takes more effort. If you haven't got the energy to do it, it becomes a lot harder. So I think for me, everyone needs to focus first. There's always been this conversation: what comes first, mindset or mindset or health? And I've gone round and round in this circle, and I've come to the conclusion that although it's a decision to do something about your health, obviously everything
comes from thought.
Everything starts from a thought and a decision. The reality is, your foundation is your health.
To sustain you need your health.
Yeah, the higher and the wider you can build that foundation. If you think of the strong body, the strong mind, the strong characters, that being that pyramid, and that those three combined as your potential to perform and to get the life that you want, then that base, the wider and the taller you can build it, the taller your pyramid goes, right? So you've got to get that first bit sorted, and then you've got to get the mind. And I'll just touch quickly on the character side of things, because the reason I built character in is because I look at the body and the mind as being your ability to handle the stuff that's coming at you and to do the stuff. The character is how you show up, right? Because you can be super healthy, you can have a great mindset and be mentally strong, but you can still be a twat, right? You can still show up. Like Andrew Tate's a great example. I'll give you. He prioritizes his health. He's a clever guy. He's mentally strong, but he's a bit of a twat. Like he's like bad Superman. He could be really, really good, right? Because a lot of what he says is true. A lot of what he says is right. The game is rigged. There's a lot of stuff that is going against, but you don't have to be aggressive and shouty and put other people down and make other people suffer. If you want to, I honestly believe that if you want to achieve a deeply fulfilling and successful life, you've got to help other people do the same thing. You've got to lift other people up. It's easy to knock people down. It's easy to sling mud at people online because of this and that. That's the easiest, the weak thing to do, right? Weak people knock people down. Strong people lift people up. Strong people make the pie bigger, not come from a place of scarcity and lack and knock other people down. And you've got to build I believe that the capstone is building that character, and it takes effort, but you've got to, again, it sits on top of the other two. It's like hard to have that top bit without the bottom two.
Yeah, like building a house with weak foundations, isn't it?
Exactly. We're trying to put a roof on a stick.
Yeah. Excellent. So this definitely has been a lot more health focused than some of the other stuff that I've done with the accountants that I've interviewed, which is great. But just moving on to a little bit of bank account stuff. So you left a secure job, a regular income. You've sort of touched on it before. You put things into pots, but obviously when you left, that income stream stopped. What did you do to protect your financial security?
Auto invest.
Okay, cool.
Largely. So for most platforms, right, most investing platforms, I would say, here's my take. This is not financial advice by any stretch.
Put that disclaimer in.
Yeah. Where's the thing?
Yeah.
But there's a couple of guys that I massively respect. A friend of mine, Andy Craig, who wrote a book called How to Own the World, and Ramit Sethi, who had a Netflix series and a book called I'll Teach You to Be Rich. Both of those guys advocate simplifying investing. So avoid, for the vast majority, individual stocks and shares and of particular businesses and stuff, right? Focus more on market scale, global scale ETFs that you can track entire markets, because over history, the last 100 years, the S&P 500, for example, has averaged 7 to 10% return every year, right? Which conveniently is about the realistic inflation rate on average over the same period of time. It's not hardly a surprise that a lot of assets tend to go up at the same kind of rate as inflation. So if your money's sat in cash, it's devaluing by the rate of inflation every single day and every single week and every single month and year, right? So when I first started investing, I was like trying to pick companies and stocks, and I was doing the Warren Buffett kind of value investing, but it's a lot more work.
Yes.
So I would highly recommend pick up both those books, How to Own the World and I'll Teach You to Be Rich. Simple strategies where you can buy ETFs, which are just kind of a box of the trackers that track certain markets. So I have a variety of these different ETFs that have different risk exposures to them, depending on how many what percentage of equities, like stocks, are in each of those ETFs. And I have cash sat in an account, and it automatically every month just goes into, as I've set it up to divide it, and it just goes and does it automatically every month. Because what it does then, it doesn't matter what the market's doing. It goes up and it goes down, but I don't look at it. I forget it's even there most of the time, and it just invests every month on repeat. And I use Interactive Investor. This is not an advert. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. But a lot of these platforms like if you do the auto invest, you don't pay trades on them. So you're just paying your monthly subscription for the platform.
Excellent.
And I have that set up for stocks and shares ISAs, and I have it set up for my SIP, my self-invested pension. And that's, you want to take the stress away. I also put money into gold. That's been amazing in the last few years. And that just sits in a vault in Switzerland somewhere, and that's like the long-term store. So it's just that's what I would recommend, is just small amounts on a regular basis. Just start putting away. Even platforms like Nutmeg are great, right?
Like set it and forget it type of things.
Correct. You don't want to be doing the thinking. Definitely don't go chasing shiny objects of crypto and stuff like that unless you've already got loads of cash and you're going to put a little bit in it, like you're going to the casino, and you may or may not get lucky over the next 10 years, but only look at it for like the next, like as it has to be in there for 10 years. Don't go in now. And if Warren Buffett's rule, and every time I've failed to adhere to this rule in anything, stands true. Be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy.
Yeah.
So if it's all over social media, Bitcoin's at this and blah, 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 run a mile, wait until no one's talking about it. Like now, right? No one's talking about Bitcoin, are they? So now's probably a better time if you wanted to go and have a dabble with it. Now would probably be a better time. Even a couple of weeks or so ago would probably be even better. That's
people have started talking about it again because it's going up a little bit more now. But
that's the thing. As it starts to tickle up,
yeah.
The more noise you hear, the less you should be going.
They say when your barber's talking about it, that's not the time to buy.
Yeah. Exactly. When also when the evangelists have only got good things to say, run them up because nothing's only good.
Excellent. So just to finish off bank account then, really like that advice. Actually, no one's mentioned that, but that's really a great top tip, is that dollar cost averaging, set it and forget it type of, put it into safe investments that are going to take the stress away over a period of time. You know, you've got it, emergency fund, then you can focus on your income. But have you got like a productivity hack or performance hack that you've implemented, in the last few years that has boosted your bottom line?
I would say, so for me, like a lot of people, I am a Olympic level procrastinator if I don't get hold of myself. Right? I could be an elite level procrastinator if I don't get hold of myself. And I have to, for me, I find it just do something at the beginning of the day is the most important thing. Pick a thing that you need to get done and get that thing done. What I used to be guilty of was I'd plan my week out and I would try and fit a month's worth of stuff into a week or a day. Like, oh yeah, I can do this. And I'll time block in my calendar specifically for this task and that task. But anyone knows, especially if you're running your own business, nothing takes the time it should take. Like Andy Craig, who wrote that book, How to Own the World, I think he said, like, you multiply it, however long you think something's going to take, you multiply it by pi, because it just always extends. There's no way that you think, that's going to take an hour, but your login doesn't work or something else doesn't, do you know what I mean? It's like always. Yeah. So for me, my advice now is just block out chunks of work time and then try and get as much stuff done in that block of work time. One other thing I've got, and I've got this here, is like a little
timer. Yeah. If you're against the clock, you work better.
Yeah. And for me, like a lot of people, they go Pomodoro 20 minutes. Doesn't work for me. It's too short because it takes me 10 minutes for my brain to get into the task. Stop flicking between tabs and doing other stuff, right? I've got to get into like, oh no, I don't need to look at LinkedIn again. I've got to go and do this thing. So I set it for 90 minutes. And then at the end of 90 minutes, I get up, go to the loo, have a drink of water or something. And then if I've got time for another block of 90, I'll do another 90. But I will always try and do at least 60 because the short term 20 and 10 doesn't work for me. It's too much task switching. So it's that you have to find what works for you. But I would say
everyone's different, but certainly the tip of blocking out your time and working against the timer and getting something done at the beginning of the day, you can adjust those however you want to do it, whatever works for you. Like my time limit is 90 minutes. Like I can't really work at my peak for more than 90 minutes. So I always block out an hour to 90 and then set myself a timer and then that's it. Usually I can get most sort of high value tasks done within that time, but sometimes I have to go back to them if it's a bigger task.
Yeah. The other thing I would say is there's a Spotify playlist. Let me see. I'll share it with you after this, and then But for me, I use noise cancelling headphones when I'm working, especially when I've got stuff that I need to get through. So I put noise cancelling headphones on, and I use a Spotify playlist called Focus Frequency /brain music. And
I've got an app called Brain FM, which is
I
quite
used
cool.
to use Brain FM, and then I was already paying for Spotify, so I was like, well, I can get the same stuff.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and I liked Brain FM for a while, but I found that it rotated the songs too quickly, and then they're becoming the pattern, and it was starting to drive me insane. So
Right, you need some variation.
I need variation. So the Spotify playlist has got, I don't know how many. I hope this doesn't end up playing. It's got, wow, so 382 tracks on it.
All right, yeah. Days.
And I can put it into shuffle mode, so it doesn't come out in the same order all the time.
Right.
And then it just a way of blocking stuff out, so I don't hear dogs barking and people talking and other distractions.
Awesome. Great hack. Cool. So coming to the end now. Thank you for all those great tips and insight, Dave. Just some quick fire questions just to wrap things up. What's your favorite book?
Ooh.
Let's pick one.
Tell you what, huh?
Let's pick one.
It's a really, really tough question. That. Really, really tough question. I mean, Think and Grow Rich will always hold a special place for me because it started everything that I've done in the last 7 years from that point. But I would, maybe Think and Grow Rich.
I'll allow you to. Think and Grow Rich and
7 Habits of Highly Effective People would probably be up there.
Steve
too.
Covey.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Really good book.
Because it's so broad, right? It's not just financial. It's a way of thinking, and it brings in a lot of the other stuff that we've talked about, the Viktor Frankl kind of side of things. And
definitely. I'd agree with that. At your funeral, how do you want to be remembered? What would you like people to say about you?
What would I like people to say about me? That I made a difference. That I help people to fulfill their potential. I think that would make me happy. I realised in my corporate world, the thing that I changed it when I knew that I couldn't change my immediate situation, I could only change the way I thought about it. Was rather than seeing my corporate job as being this soulless thing in a corporate cog that meant nothing, which is basically what it was, I could focus on the things that I could put better meaning on. And my focus became developing other people, to help other people to see beyond their current role and to see possibility and to want to do more stuff, to dream more, and to then follow that dream through. Because I found so many people stuck in a box in their head of, well, this is the job I've got, which wasn't planned. It's a result of a series of other decisions. And then I would say to it, when I was hiring people, I'd say, where do you see yourself after this? And almost entirely the response I got was, well, it depends what opportunities are available.
Yeah.
What that says to me is there's no plan. This job isn't a plan. There's no plan for the next thing. Life is happening. And I think it was Jim Rohn that said, if you don't have a plan, you're going to fall into someone else's.
Yes.
Right. So I think for me I would like to help people to realize their potential and live a deep and fulfilling life.
Excellent. Okay, cool. If you could leave our listeners with one thing today, what would it be?
One thing, health. Focus on your health. If I could do one thing, focus on your health. It's the foundation of everything else. I'm not saying everything else isn't massively important, But beyond anything else, health is the most important thing. I think there's a saying that says, like, a poor person has 10,000 wishes. A rich man, a sick rich man has one, and that's to be healthy, right? So if you've got to really focus. I can't get it across enough. You don't need to be an athlete.
No.
But you need to be fit and healthy. And also, it's not just for you, right? The NHS is, if you listen to this in the UK, the NHS is on its knees because of overutilization and wastage more than it is the lack of funding. Right? At some point, there's an inflection point. If everybody is sick, there's no amount of money that's ever going to be able to be put into that system to support people and get them better. So we need to take the responsibility ourselves to not place a demand on the system so that it still exists and so that it's there to catch us if we need it.
Should be a premium for fat people.
Well, then you end up in the China social credit system, and I don't want to be scored on how much steak I ate this week.
Right. Big brother.
I would rather everyone just said, "I tell you what, I want to live." Because here's one thing I noticed, right? We all have different goals, or we voice different goals, but they all lead to the same thing, right? We all just want to live the best life possible. We all want to be happy. We all want to feel fulfilled. We all just want a great life. The vehicle, the first part of the vehicle to get in there is your health. The second part is your mind. And the third part is how you treat other people.
Yeah. No. Totally agree. So start with your health, everyone. That's the foundation of everything. Last one then. What's one habit that you'd wish you'd adopted earlier that transformed your life?
Taking responsibility.
Interesting.
100%.
For everything that happens to you.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's because that's where you have choice, right? If you don't take responsibility, it's not your fault. Responsibility and fault are not the same thing. It's not your fault if someone crashes into you. It's not your fault if someone rips you off. It's not your fault if your parents were alcoholics, or whatever bad situations have happened to get you to wherever you are now. But it's entirely your responsibility from this second, because there's no going back. It's only the memory is an illusion. You can't do anything about it. It's gone.
Yeah.
Alan Watts. I would highly recommend everyone just listen to Alan Watts. I won't explain him too much.
Phenomenal guy.
Unbelievable. But he had a saying that says, "The wake doesn't drive the ship." Right? And if you think about that as a ship crossing the ocean, it leaves a trail, but the trail is not pushing the ship. That's our life. The past is gone, other than in our memory. We get to choose how much we focus on that and how much we kind of take away our own power as a result of that. Yep. You can do something about now. You can't, but it's not fair. It's not fair. No.
Yeah.
And you can be absolutely justified in being angry and upset and all of these things. But where do you want to go? Is your response right now getting you to where you want to go? Yeah, that person said something. Is being rude back to them actually going to have a positive outcome?
No.
Or is it just your ego?
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So for me, one habit would be take full and complete responsibility. And it's hard because you say, yeah, but
Yeah, you're trying to make it not your fault when it really is.
Oh, entirely. It was the way you're trying to make it so that you're abdicating responsibility. Like, I don't need to. Oh, I'm just feel this way because that makes me. Here's a saying. You need to get out. That makes me feel that way. You made me feel. No one made you feel.
Feel that way. You feel that way by choice.
Chose to feel that way in response, and we can all agree, like, being rude to someone isn't a good thing to do. Be it like part of having a strong character is actually you don't set out to hurt anyone else. Like, the motto is just don't be a dick, right? Don't set out to deliberately harm someone else. You make mistakes and then own the mistake.
Yeah.
But you've got to say, I felt that way. When you said that, I felt this. That's interesting, isn't it? It's a different way of saying, when you said that, it made me feel. It didn't make you feel. I felt that.
Yeah.
And then you can start to understand, why did I feel that? So that's what I would say.
Okay, cool. Take responsibility. Excellent. Cool. So last but not least, where can listeners find you and connect with Dave or Real Man?
Best place is probably go on LinkedIn, look for, unfortunately, there's probably a lot of David Bells, but if you go LinkedIn /real-health-performance, then you'll find me.
Yeah. And Dave's details will be in the description of this episode. Yeah. So if you want to go on there, you can get Dave's details on there as well. So thank you very much for joining us, Dave. Really appreciate all your time. It's been a good interview talking about health and how that's the foundation of everything. So I think that's probably a great place to start for everyone. So thank you very much. This has been David Bell and Grant Hutchby on the Carnivore Entrepreneur Show. Thank you very much. Take care, Dave.
Cheers, mate.
If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. You are a carnivore entrepreneur. Live life how it was supposed to be lived, on your terms, with strength, energy, and purpose. I'll see you on the next episode.